I'm going to do.
I don't see anything on here that has me muted. All I can see is like my big screen is what you're showing to everyone. And then you and I are over here in the corner.
Let's go here to this real quick. Go ahead and talk for me.
Testing 1 2 1 2.
Guess it doesn't really help me if I test.
Test 1 2 1 2.
Okay, it's not popping up on this one. Let's see if it'll go on this one. Because I've got 2 streams right now over on YouTube. Say something for me, Erica.
Testing 1 2.
All right, hold on.
Come on.
All right. Okay. So we've got you on if you go to YouTube, there are 2 streams on YouTube right now. One of them has audio, the other one does not have audio.
GMA said she can hear me on YouTube now.
She can hear you where on Rumble?
On YouTube.
On YouTube. Perfect. Welcome back, everybody. Thank you so much for staying with us during that break. We greatly appreciate that. It appears that we now have sound for Erica over on YouTube, and there are 2 streams that are happening right now on YouTube, so you may want to check those out. And one of them works. I'm not sure which one does and which one does not. I can end on Rumble. I might just end it on Rumble right now because if everybody's going to be jumping ship, let me do this. I'm going to do this right there. That should end the stream for us over on Rumble and over on YouTube. Now, if you are on YouTube, go over there and you will be able to see the only stream that is streaming, and that is the one that you will be able to watch and hear Erica. Now, all right, here's what we're going to do, Erica. We're going to relaunch the show. We're going to do absolutely everything over again.
Okay.
So, perfect. Okay. All right. It's on YouTube right now, folks. So hop on over there and you will be able to see the show. I'm going to send this over to our guest that's coming up as well. I tell you what, there is nothing that it is. YouTube is the best link. There's nothing. This is not without exciting things happening all the time. Right. So, all right, let's move on with the program here because now we've got that fixed. All right. I have one of these news stories, and sometimes you just have to stand corrected. You just have to step back and say, sometimes I made a mistake. You have to do what do they call it? Where they write it in a newspaper and they tell you we messed up, and whatever it is. All right, I have a news story here that says that Saint Bernard's nearly unalived a Columbus girl. No, I'm sorry, it wasn't Saint Bernard's. Hold on just a second.
St. Bernard's.
Basset hounds nearly unalived. No, I'm sorry. Hold on. I need my glasses. I think that's what it is. My age. Oh, it says pit bulls nearly killed Columbus girl, and her mom wants changes to Ohio's dangerous dog. Yeah, that's what it says. Mother. It says here that a summer play date turned into a nightmare for Avery Russell, 11, when 2 pit bulls attacked her. Avery, who lost both ears, faces years of recovery. That's a heartbreaking story that we would have such like ravaging monsters like these basset hounds and these golden retrievers that tear into people like this and want to destroy them. It hurts my heart when that happens. I just wanted to drop that in there that sometimes you have to say I was wrong. This is not one of those times where I have to say I was wrong because yet again, it was pit bulls. All pit bulls should be unalive. That's all I'm going to say about that.
You
What?
The constant, generalization of this poor breed of dog that you have, been outlaying for over a year now is just relentless.
I don't understand how it's a misrepresentation. After a certain point, you start to say, "Wow, these breeds, regardless of their owners," because everybody, whenever you bring this up, what is the thing you hear? It's all about the owners. The owners this, the owners that, and it's just like, well, that's nice and all, but it doesn't appear to really impact the totality of incidents that occur with this particular breed, owners or not.
I I'm I mean, proposing eliminating the entire breed is not feasible. A Chihuahua will eat you if you die in the house and don't feed it. So, the only difference is that it doesn't have the power to attack you while you're alive. How about all dogs are a menace, right? Why don't we just go there? All dogs should be eliminated.
Oh, well, because because you and I both know as well that a golden retriever is not a golden retriever. A child can pull on its ears, can roll around on it, can punch it, can
And it
throw it
will
across the room.
still eat you if it's trapped in a home with you and you die and
I
do
don't,
not feed it. It
I don't
will
think
eat
dogs.
you.
I don't think dogs will. I think cats will eat you if you die.
So any animal will eat you if you die. They don't have conscious thought
Why are you going back to that? I'm just saying. I don't
because
know.
it's true.
I
They're
think
going
that
to go straight to instinct and they're going to eat you. You are food.
will dogs eat you if you die?
It's not the right question.
What is the right question?
Oh my God. Well, the answer is going to be yes. A dog might eat you.
Okay, it says yes, there have been documented cases where dogs have consumed their deceased owners' bodies, which, by the way, didn't happen with Gene Hackman and his
That's
one.
because that dog was trapped in a kennel.
And then it says this behavior is generally attributed to their survival instincts rather than, you know what, I don't like this. I don't like this answer
Yeah.
because this answer
Uh-huh.
is agreeing with Erica, and
Uh-huh.
it's stupid. I don't like it at
Right.
all.
Wow. Yep. Just discard that piece of evidence.
Yeah. Okay. So I stand corrected. It does say here. I thought that not that dogs wouldn't, but I thought it was like more cats that would eat you rather than a dog.
It doesn't have to
Um,
do with what the animal is. It's the fact that for survival, they function on instinct and you are food. They are carnivores and you are food.
huh. I'm a lot of food. If I were to die, I'd be like a feast. Like they would be calling their buddies. They'd be like, "Hey, you got to see this. Get over here. This guy is plump. Let's go."
Oh my God.
Oh man. All right. Here's an interesting one. Okay. It has nothing to do with dogs. It has nothing to do with unaliving all the pit bulls. I hear this all the time from people that are constantly talking about, um, undocumented immigrants is saying that, hey, all these undocumented immigrants, they're criminals and they're causing all havoc and wreaking all havoc and all that stuff. I saw this story. There's a gentleman that lives in New York. I shouldn't even call him a gentleman. It says that New York's broken mental health laws let 14-year-old's deranged alleged killer slip through the cracks despite all kinds of red flags. So there was a man from the Bronx, and he was this 14-year-old boy was just walking to school one day. This man just walked up and stabbed the kid in the chest. Just straight up killed him. His name is Waldo Mahia. He shouted when he was in court that I'm with Satan and it says that it shows the dire need to change the state's involuntary commitment laws. Here's a quote from the story. It says New York City's criminal justice system, including the ever-evolving bail statuses, is just not equipped to handle people who are clearly indicating advanced signs of mental illness and engage in bizarre and violent acts, said Mark Betterow, a Big Apple defense attorney who's not involved in the case. He says there were all kinds of red flags with this guy from before this terrible incident, and it's just senseless. Over the years of spiraling mental illness, Mayha menaced his mother, set the lobby of his ex girlfriend's building on fire, and dementedly stabbed a neighbor's doorbell camera. So this guy has a history of doing all of these things, and when he was put in jail, or when they tried to have him committed, it's all evidently it's heavily a voluntary basis rather than an involuntary basis. So they're unable to take this guy and say you're a danger to society. We need to separate you from society until we get you some help. And now, because of all of that, because of those failures, had nothing to do with immigration. It had nothing to do with all it had to do with was the New York justice system failed in trying to get this guy away from society. So my question, as I look at this, I'm like, what is the what is it about these situations? Like, what could be done? I mean, if somebody is showing all of these signs of some type of mental derangement, should they be locked up involuntarily? Should they be separated from society? I mean, what should be done here?
I don't even I don't think it's just New York. I'm pretty sure that most of the states have a law that says that you can only involuntarily commit someone who is not diagnosed with a mental disorder or has committed a crime for 72 hours. And if they don't voluntarily stay after that, they can walk out the door.
Which is
It's kind of like the laws that say that you have to be hurt before you can have a restraining order. It doesn't matter if they're stalking you, it doesn't matter if they're terrorizing you, they haven't done anything to you physically, and so you may not be issued a restraining order. It's backwards. I don't know that it's just New York, but it is very backwards.
Yeah, I mean, it probably is because there are a lot of states like that. There are even states. What is the law? I can't remember the name of the law. I know that we have it here in Kentucky, where if a person is on like if a person is a heroin addict there or some kind of drug addiction of some sort, that their family can go to the court and have them involuntarily detained, like take away essentially their ability to be free, and because they are on drugs, and have that person locked up until they get clean, you know. So I don't know what that law is. It's like Sarah's law or something like that, because
Yeah, I
people,
don't know. I don't know about that.
yeah,
That's a
it's
very slippery slope. What if people just decide that they need you locked up because they want your inheritance? Or, yeah, I think the reason it's set that way is it's not working the way it should, but it should be for your protection that people can't just take over your rights to.
Casey's law. Casey's law provides a means of intervening with someone who is unable to recognize his or her need for treatment due to their impairment. This law will allow parents, relatives, and or friends to petition the court for treatment on behalf of the person who has a substance abuse disorder. So
Okay.
this, yeah. So I mean, I guess now
I
I
mean, that's good. It's limited. It's parents, friends, relatives. It can't just be your neighbor that doesn't like you because you planted a tree over the property line,
right.
right? I mean, you don't want that type of red flag sort of situation going on.
Exactly. It says here that Casey's also the criteria, because that's a big thing, because you have well, obviously with Britney Spears, and then with her conservatorship. I'm just comparing this to this because it is somebody taking charge over somebody.
Right.
What's her the other woman's name? The very she's a black lady television host, spoke out
Oh,
against Judy. Wendy
Wendy,
Williams.
Wendy Williams.
Yeah, she has some kind of odd conservatorship from her bank or something like that.
Yeah,
And
and I mean, there's even conspiracies that they made her ill.
yeah, because there's footage of her with this, being involved in all this, this Diddy stuff.
Right.
So I you got to look at the criteria, and it says here for this Casey's law, it says that the court for the court order to for the court to order involuntary treatment, it must find that the person suffers from alcohol or drug abuse, presents an imminent threat of danger to self, family, or others as a result of alcohol or drug abuse, or there exists a substantial likelihood of such a threat of danger in the near future, and the respondent can reasonably benefit from treatment. So if you have something like that that's dealing with addiction, I mean, something like that should definitely be applied when it comes to mental illness. And there are a lot of people, and I say a lot of people. There are some Democrats that in New York that are saying there if you put somebody in jail that has these types of mental issues, then you add this stigma of mental disorders and connect it to violence. No, but that doesn't mean that if a person is locked up with a mental disorder or they need assistance, that it automatically says that they are violent. If they have exhibited violent tendencies and they have exhibited a potential to cause harm to others or to themselves, I mean, all of those things for Casey's law apply to this guy in New York. I mean, he was a danger to himself, he was a danger to others, he had threatened other people. So there should be something like that which allows the court to say, look, you got to be treated. You got to be over here for some time.
Why does this have to be a court issue? If it's only limited to families, relatives, or parents that can make this type of request, why is it why do you have to go to the court? You know why? I'll tell you why. Because you want the state to pay for it. So you wanna go and you want them to handle your issue, your family member, your friend, whatever, that has this problem because you can't pay for the treatment, because you don't need a law to have someone committed if it's allowed. If the law says that you're allowed to, have them committed in this way, all you have to do is do that. You don't have to go to court.
Yeah, but
You just need the paperwork.
but you still need some type of enforcement authority. Like I can't just go to somebody in my family and be like, you know what, you're crazy. I'm going to have you committed and take them to a whatever I guess they're still called mental hospitals, whatever it is that they're called now, and take them to it, and then the hospital accept that based on my word or the testimony of others. I have to have some kind of authority behind me, and a lot of people don't have that authority because you can't hold somebody against their will. You need to exercise some type of law to get that person to do that. Right? I mean, and it's
I mean,
without
I would
that
okay, so
authority.
I would say go to court. You go to court and you adjudicate your right to do that. You don't adjudicate the person actually being sent and then being a ward of the state where you're not responsible for paying for it, and I am. I'm not doing that.
Right.
If you wanna go to the court to get the right to make that decision for this individual based on the evidence that you have of their condition, of their diagnosis, of what's going on, of crimes or acts of violence that they're committing, bring it to the court, and the court should say, "Yes, you have the right to make that decision." But then you go make that decision. You be held accountable because you wanted the responsibility, so now you be held accountable for it, not the state, not me, not my tax dollars, not a court-ordered, sentence.
Well, I mean, but the issue comes in. By the way, Helen, I believe it's pronounced Riker. Please correct me if I'm not wrong. She's actually going to be the young lady that's on that's coming up with us at the top of the next hour. She's in YouTube right now. She commented. She said, if they are not a threat to themselves or others in Kansas, they can be held until they are not. Doesn't happen a lot without a lot of with a lot of serious crime, but it can happen. Okay, so Riker is correct. Awesome, look at that. So these, but I believe the problem is when you go to the court for assistance, the laws that exist in New York, they're not there. They're not on the side of trying to protect, and that is, I think that's a danger. I had this realization a couple of years ago. I actually talked to a good friend of mine who is I don't want to say prison guard. That sounds kind of demeaning, but he is in law enforcement. But he works for the federal prisons, and we were talking, and I was like, it'd be really neat to have some kind of ministry or chaplaincy where you go and you minister to these folks. He was like, yeah, that's all well and good. He was like, but what about the victims? He was like, so many people get focused on the perps that are in jail, and rather than focusing on the victims, the families that were wrecked, because it seems like there's more sympathy for the people in jail. Like, oh, look at you. You're so awesome. And this is not demeaning chaplains at all. They go to prisons because they need it. But like it seems like, oh, you're so amazing because you can go deal with the disgusting filth that's in prison. Not that everybody is. I'm just saying that with all these horrible criminals in prison, and it takes a lot of compassion to be able to do both of those. But I think that the law, especially these particular ones, benefit the perpetrators rather than the victims because it looks at them and it tries to have compassion, which we should have compassionate laws, but where is the purpose and existence of the law to protect the innocent? to
Well, and where
protect
does it
people that
end?
could be in danger.
The compassion that we're showing to this individual that's chosen to harm others or do this is that we have compassionately put you in a place where you can't hurt anyone. We feed you. You receive clothing. Your basic needs are met, free
Yes.
from worry. That's our compassion. Beyond that, go F yourself.
And I tell you what, I am. By the way, you're listening to us live on the Crusade Channel, live radio the way it should be. We're also on YouTube. Rumble, unfortunately, is broken today. I got to get that fixed. But we are live on YouTube. So you can join us over there if you'd like to. Also, head on over to the Substack, aaronbarker.substack.com. We'll talk about that here more in just a minute. But I am against prisons. All right. I don't think we should have a jail system or a prison system. Because I don't believe that putting a person in jail for a crime is either moral or ethical for the criminal, and it's definitely not moral or ethical for the victims. Because let's say in the state of Kentucky, the Commonwealth of Kentucky, somebody's put in jail because they murdered a loved one. All right, that person is now in jail for the rest of their lives, and I work every day, or the family of the victims work every day to pay taxes to take care of the prison system that gives that man three hots and a cots, or that woman three hots and a cots, right? It's unjust. That person should be there should be something where that person is working to restore what they have taken from somebody else. You know, not working in some government private federal prison making license plates for 3 cents an hour, you know, while these federal or while these private companies make hundreds of millions or billions of dollars because of the amount of incarcerations that exist. I mean, the amount of incarcerations that exist because of drug issues or drug possession or things like that, minor crimes, victimless crimes.
Okay.
They,
So
that,
let me just okay. I'm just gonna play devil's advocate
oh,
for just a
please,
second here.
yeah.
Um, who are you gonna force to hire these people to work to pay back what they've done? Who's gonna be forced to be in charge of these people working to pay back what they've done? Who are you gonna force to hire a murderer?
Um, well, so okay, murder. I believe if it's murder, I'm a proponent of the death penalty.
Or okay, sorry, let's go back to simple drug offenses. Like
Okay, yeah,
let's say I'll even go to let's say you're the 19-year-old that got popped with 2 ounces that you brought to Daytona for all your friends for spring break, right? You're not a drug dealer. You just brought the part you knew the person that could get that much pot for all your friends to go
right,
to spring break. You were just the mule at that point, right? And
yeah,
you got popped for that.
right.
It's a simple offense. Do you deserve prison time?
Absolutely not.
Probably not.
Jail time. Yeah,
But do I have the right to say that that was a really bad decision and it may indicate you have a character flaw I don't want on my workforce? Absolutely.
yeah, very possible. Now there are certain people that are not going to hire regardless of what crime was committed by a person, right?
Right.
And then
Right.
there
I
are
mean,
others.
if I make a decision based on whether or not you have pronouns in your resume, I certainly can make a decision based on whether or not you make really bad decisions in your personal life.
Yeah. Now, but to answer your question, we have creditors and debtors and child support, even though that's also a completely different show altogether. But
Right.
we have those where a person's wages can be garnished, right?
Mhm.
You owe a specific debt. They can say, we're going to take a percentage of your money. That I think that should be. I'm not going to say I think that should be the way it is. If you stole from somebody or you caused an accident which prevented a person from being able to work for an extended period of time or an indefinite period of time, you're now working to pay that person's medical bills. You're now working to take care of that person's family because you're responsible for that person's loss of function, right?
I
That
mean, if
should be
anybody else yeah. If anybody out there wants a new revenue stream, you should actually try to figure out how to propose this business model of, um, employing simple criminals. Like, how do you get them, sign them up like a temp agency, vet them, train them, and then be willing to sponsor putting them out into the workforce and help them find employment. I mean,
yeah.
you could start a company that does that if you wanted to go in this direction. You
And those
really could.
yeah, and those companies also like there are companies that that exist where they take people like temp agencies, things like you just said, but there's a lot of lower income people that go there because they can't afford because they're looking for jobs for restoration. Like
No, I mean someone specifically where you cannot actually be sponsored by this company to help you find gainful employment. Like they're going to be the company that's responsible for taking a portion of what you make
oh, okay,
and
gotcha.
paying it back, right? Like
Oh
the
yeah.
company itself employs only people who are in the workforce to pay back for a crime they committed or some type of retribution. It's not out there. You could start that company. Anyone who's bored, by the way.
Yeah, I mean, well, that's a great idea because like it's not a it's almost like a private probationary
Right.
company where
Because you don't want the government to do it because
right
then you have to pay the government to pay
employ
retribution, and they're gonna take a bunch of it, and where is it gonna actually go? But if you were serious about reformation of some of these people with simple crimes, I mean, you could even make it a faith-based organization.
yeah, it could be a faith-based organization. I mean, possibly, or it could just be, one of those organizations like you're saying. I love that idea, Erica. We should
Anybody that
jump
starts this 501(c)(3), I only want 5%. Thank you.
and I will only take 5% as well because it happened on my show, and that is, and Erica's the genius, and I'm just the person that provided the outcome, the outlet for it. So you're listening to the breakdown, folks. We just had, by the way, if you are new to the show, we have a Substack. And if you're not new to the show, we still have a Substack. It is aaronbarker.substack.com. If you go to aaronbarker.substack.com, you will be able to see all of the shows that we've previously released. You will also be able to see all of the newer shows that we have released as well. So we have started a new weekly podcast called Dimension X Files. Now, to explain that name, I love nostalgia. I love 80s and 90s cartoons. As you can see on the screen there, one of my favorite cartoons growing up and still today. And I bought this. I bought the first 3 volumes of the original Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle comics that I'm reading through. But anyway, Dimension X is where Krang is from in the 1987 version of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. X Files is just a throwback to the old paranormal show. So, Dimension X Files, we are covering cryptids, conspiracies, we're covering spiritual issues, we are covering alternative health issues. This show coming up, Erica, you can testify. The show that's going to be released next Wednesday is a fantastic show
Oh,
with
yeah, if you're not I mean, okay, the show that we did last week forced me to want to buy a bunch of subscriptions and give them out in some kind of contest, which we're gonna do. I just don't know what kind of contest it should be. I want it to be something fun, but this lady I bought her book. I bought her book right after we finished the show. The information was amazing. I know a lot of you out there are into getting your system clean, your food clean, and she's not a fanatic. It was really great. I really enjoyed it. And, like, sometimes I sit down on Wednesday night for these interviews and I'm like, "Oh my god, I just wanna go to bed." Right? No, it was amazing, and if you're not on there, I really suggest that you sign up for the Substack. Even you know what? I mean, it's I think if you sign up just for this one, even if you plan to drop it, just do it because it's really good. But then, you'll probably keep it because
yeah.
they're really good. I mean, we have more coming up. I don't even wanna say it because I don't think that one's gonna be posted behind the scenes, right?
Yeah, there's one coming up. We're interviewing. So we interview on Wednesdays and we drop them the following Wednesdays. So everybody's a week behind. But the show that's going to drop this coming Wednesday, like Erica was talking about, it's not it falls kind of in alternative health, but it's not necessarily alternative health. It is how to regain control of your life, to regain joy, how to find ways to change your habits, to make life resolutions and such. It was really awesome, and you're going to find out some personal details about me that normally would not be broadcast, but they will broadcast on they will be broadcast this coming Wednesday. But if you go to aaronbarker.substack.com, it's $5 a month. If you want to subscribe to the show, it's only $55 a year, so you're getting a month free, and that will allow us to continue to broadcast the show, to get the software that's necessary to do this, and it's also just a super amount of fun with us. This is our 4th show. We've talked to Marcus Pittman about God's Not Boring, Why Christian Films Need a Revolution. We've talked to Dave Emmons, which he's a fascinating guy. If you have not heard that show, we're talking, did
That's a new
he engage in intercourse with aliens? What are his encounters over the past over 60 years? What are his experiences that happened to him even today? It's incredible stuff. And then just awesome things. Jason McLean was on there, and we talked to him about Bigfoot and demons and biblical secrets, etc. It's not all Christian stuff as well. So if you're not a Christian, you don't have to be. Don't be off put by that, because it talks about all kinds of things, and you'll see that especially coming up. AaronBarker.substack.com. You can join us over there. It would be a blast if you did. All right, folks, coming up at the top of next hour, we're going to be talking to Helen Riker out of Kansas about the satanic Black Mass. We're going to be getting a bunch of details on that as well. So keep it locked in right here on The Breakdown. Hey, I stopped it before the music kicked in.
awesome. Okay, I have to go for a minute.
Yeah, make sure you mute. I found out today that when the camera is not, or when the mic is not muted, there's a lot that you pick up. A lot. All right, let's see. Anybody talking over here? Oh, wow, there's a bunch of stuff here. Oh, okay. Oh, looks like Helen and Jay Sparkles might be close to each other over there. I'm helping people, making friends, connecting folks, bringing folks together. We're still here, folks. Sorry, we're just I'm getting things set up here to Helen, if you can hear me, I'm going to chat with you over on the Substack chat.
I got a new router last week, and I have to tell you, I'm liking it. Like normally when we're live, if I'm streaming on anything, I have to go through my phone Wi-Fi and put my phone right next to my laptop in order to get a good signal. But I'm on my new Netgear router. I feel pretty good.
Hey, it looks pretty good. Everything sounds pretty good. Okay, looks like we got.
I just have to get a new laptop because it's telling me that it wants to end its life and I need to let it go.
No. Talk to me before you place that.
What?
Talk to me before you place that order.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
there we go.
We don't either.
Right
This
on.
is my closet door right here, and this is my window.
Yeah, let's do this real quick.
Can you hear me, Helen? Okay. I just want to make sure because we're having sound issues. Okay. Hold on one sec.
But like, yeah. So
Oh wow. Well, that's yeah. There's all kinds of things. I saw your comments that you're making there in the chat as well. So what happens here at about 10:03 and 25 seconds? We will start the next hour, and then I'll just introduce you there. So
all right.
let's get this. I did have the Crusader chat room up as well, but where did that go?
So like, you want me to like not cuss or like what are the?
Okay, so that's I try not to.
I'm a
Um,
potty
I've
mouth.
I am too. I try really
But
hard. I would
I,
say if you can stay away from the F word and the
oh
GD, we're
man,
probably okay.
you
Aaron's head
just said
probably
my
won't
top
explode.
two favorites. No, I can do that. I was raised in church and worked in the business world forever. I know how to not cuss.
Look,
Um,
it's an exercise in futility for me almost every weekend, but I try.
Now I have grandchildren, so I got to stop doing it again anyway.
Yeah. All right. Well, here we go. I'm going to go ahead and start the stream or the music, and we will go into the next hour.
Can you hear my fan? I'm 47, so I can hear it.
Welcome back to the breakdown, folks. Thanks for staying with us during that break. Moving right along here, just pulling up the Crusader Stadium chat room. JB over there sold a turntable for $10. I wish I could have gotten onto that deal, but of course, I don't think she lives close enough. All right, we're moving right along here in this hour. Big stuff coming up. Bad theology will be a little bit later if we get to it. And there's Erica, some of the stuff that I brought up last week without you here that I wanted to get your opinion on, but we might end up just having a great conversation. We have with us Helen Riker. I just found out about you yesterday, Helen. So I appreciate you making the arrangements to be on the show. I know you're about an hour behind us over there in Kansas, I think.
Yeah, it's 9. Yeah, yeah.
Okay, yeah. So about an hour. So
And
welcome to the
just
show.
so
Thank
you
you
know,
so
I'm
much.
not a morning person, so
Me
you're very
neither.
welcome.
That's why I got my hat on. It's 9
Yeah,
o'clock
that's
for
why
me
I
too.
don't have hair, so this isn't shouts.
So we did the show. We've been doing the show for a few years, and we did it with video for the longest time. Well, the past, I don't know, 5-6 weeks, we decided we were going old school theater of the mind and just had a screen up, a picture up, and we were doing the show. So like the lights were off here, and where our hair was all disheveled and all that stuff. She's in Indiana, I'm in Kentucky, and
Mm.
we were just like in our PJs and all this. And then this week, I'm like, "Hey, Erica," and she graciously allowed me to
Yeah,
start
I'm still in my pages.
putting the
Yeah.
video on.
I'm
I'm not
sitting
wearing
in my
pants. No.
bed. I have a desk on my bed, like that goes over the bed, and
Yep.
like everything's set up on there because I just didn't want to leave my bed to go into the office to do stuff and nothing was getting done. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to submit. And I've
Perfect.
gotten so much done. That's how I've been able to do all this content about the Black Mass,
Well, that's awesome. So
all from my bed.
yeah. So let's jump right into this. So
Okay.
I was going to cover this last week. This has been kind of brewing
Yeah.
for a few weeks, and yesterday I was doing some research on this because I wanted to bring it up, and I came across one of the videos, so I followed you because I wanted to get some more information. And then we connected through other social media as well. So give us a quick introduction of who you are and what you are doing currently as far
I
as
am,
this.
yeah. Well, first, what I'm not a Satanist. I'm not a member of the grotto. I'm agnostic. I don't know the answers. That's, and I'm not a Democrat or Republican. I'm an independent. So, um, yeah. So, I mean, that's just the things I'm not. But what I'm doing right now is I just wanted to start kind of focusing. It was very overwhelmed with all the federal news and everything that's coming down the pike. And so, like, I thought I'm just going to focus on Kansas because I can't focus. And if they're giving more rights to the states, then it's going to be more and more important that we're paying attention to our states. And so we're gonna have like 50 presidents, you know what I mean? And so I started paying attention to it, and then like immediately when I first started like deciding to shift from my TikTok, which I never really used and hated, from a comedian because I'm also a comedian.
Oh,
Um,
nice.
so I decided to switch it from there to this political stuff because that's where it's at. And yeah, and this just happened to happen like 2 days after I'd made this decision to become an independent journalist. Now I have a degree in business and communications and a minor in political science, if that matters
So
to
you're equipped
anybody.
for this essentially.
And then I just got a certificate from like this program that's through NYU in modern journalism. So, I mean, those are my credentials if you want. But I mean, I'm not saying anything that I wouldn't have said 7 years ago when I didn't have those credentials, but it matters to some. So that's a little about me. I just see a broken system and I want to fix it. Really, I'm
Gotcha.
just
Well,
trying
yeah,
to do
as you
something.
heard from our conversation last hour, yeah, we're trying to do, and just in our own little way, trying to
Yeah.
do that as well, and have those conversations here about that. So, for those folks that don't know out there, give us some background. So, there is a satanic grotto, as it's called, and
Mhm.
they are planning or attempting to
It's
plan or apply
the
for permits.
Satanic Grotto.
The satanic grotto,
They're not
the
a satanic. They're
the
completely independent of the Church of Satan and the Satan's Temple. They actually tried those first, and then we're like, no, we don't like what's happening here. We're just going to do it ourselves. And so that's what they've done, and pretty successfully. I mean, in this little Kansas, Missouri region.
yeah. So what are they trying to do? What is the whole debacle about it? What is the whole uproar?
Well, all they really want to do, and all they were planning to do, was this 30-minute thing that was gonna. They were gonna go in there and they were going to, say some prayers, just like a very mini mass. They certainly weren't going to do their full black mass, which I will be covering eventually on TikTok if I can ever like get a second to cover like what a black mass is. But they're just going to do some prayers, and they have the little cracker, that's the body. It's in their case, I don't know if it's the body of Christ, but they consecrated the cracker themselves. It's not like there's people saying there was a lawsuit where they were saying that they stole the
Right, I saw that.
consecrated and
Like,
the
right.
wine because because uh Michael Stewart's his name is like the guy. He said, we're going to have this consecrated crackers and wine, and they assumed that it was theirs then if it was consecrated.
Yeah.
But in the satanic Garato's belief, he can consecrate it with their beliefs because he's a priest. So, but ultimately, like it wasn't going to be that big a deal, honestly. It was going to be like 30 minutes. They're going to be in and out. And then when I first found out about this and I Googled them, I couldn't even, like, I Googled the Satanic Grotto. Their
Yeah.
website didn't even come up. I had to, like, actually type in their website. And now, if you go Google them, I don't know what it's like now. They're number one organic. If you just Google there, and there are at least 4 pages of news articles from different, like, I mean, it's getting picked up on national news and all sorts of
Yeah, the
stuff.
blaze is covered and all that. Yeah, so
And now it's blown up. And now there's going to be all sorts of people there. When if they just would have ignored them and let them do their they got a permit. They went through the channels and got the legal permit to do this there. And then people found out about it and started flipping out. And then, the governor, thank God she's gonna be gone soon. The governor, and everybody started coming down on him, and then it just blew up. And then the Catholic people in Kansas City got a hold of it, and it just blew up. And if they had just ignored it and let them do it, which is their right to do, then
I don't think it would have been as big as it is now.
no,
Now,
absolutely not. Because when I got a hold of this, they've been planning it for a while. And if you look at their groups and you look at their following, they don't really have a big, like, on social footprint online. You know what I mean? They
Right.
don't,
yeah,
because a lot of them are doing it secretly because they don't want to be outed in their real life
yeah.
because people will come kill them,
Right.
and so that really hampers their ability to like push it online, I think, too. But the ultimate goal, which I think is obvious to me, is that they're just trying to say, look, if you guys just stop praying at the state capitol and stop having prayer meetings and all these other religions, Jewish and all these other things meeting there, we won't care. We won't come do our mass in there. But if they get to do it, then we get to do it.
And then that's what just to back up a little bit because what I saw yesterday, and this is one of the things I wanted to get some answers on as well. There was a legislative coordinating council session that happened in Kansas for the Kansas legislature, and somebody testified. For those of you that don't know, we have a lot of folks. We actually broadcast on a channel which has a huge amount of Catholic, a huge Catholic contingency, so they know a lot of this stuff as well because of the
Yeah.
of Mike Church over there. But for those of you who don't, when there is a black mass performed, typically what they need in order to do a black mass is a consecrated host. And what happens in the Catholic religion when the priest consecrates the body and the blood, or the Eucharist, the wafer and the wine, they believe in transubstantiation, which means that the wafer becomes the body of Christ, and the wine becomes the blood of Christ, and it's transubstantiation. So when black masses are performed, that's typically the key thing that's needed is a consecrated host, where they're saying this is the body and blood of Jesus Christ. So when I was watching the legislative council session, there was the attorney general that said that there was testimony that, or an affidavit of some sort, legal testimony that this was stolen. And because they're saying that the Eucharist essentially was stolen, that if they destroy it, then they're not only stealing it, but not only have they stolen it, but now they're going to be destroying it, which is another felony. And then they're going to advertise, and they kind of piece this together, saying, "Well, you can't advertise something that's stolen. You can't advertise you're going to commit a crime, and you can't
Mhm.
have essentially free speech over this matter because all of this is based on you breaking the law." That's what
Yeah.
I got. Now, since you're closer to this, is any of that true? Did they steal
No.
anything? What is that all about?
In fact, they brought a court case against them on March 14th, alleging all of this. And I just made a video on it real like in the middle of the night. And so they just filed they got dismissed because they go into court and they say, "Hey, look, here's where we bought this stuff." And I'm a
Right.
priest, but this is all symbolic is the thing. It could they he did I don't know if he actually did a little whatever you do. I was raised Pentecostal, so I don't know a lot
Hey,
about
so was I.
Well, okay,
yeah,
so I was raised Catholic, and here's the question I would have. How do
yeah.
you steal a consecrated host? Because transubstantiation happens in the middle of Mass. And at the end of that ritual, before you close the Mass, all the host is consumed. You can watch the priest eat any extra host. And when it's taken into the back room, those women, my mom will tell you, she wanted better wine on Sundays because they slam that consecrated wine. They drink it. Whatever's left, I'm
This is
telling you,
why I
this is
kind of
what
like some of the
happens,
Catholics.
and so I don't know, maybe somebody in the crusade chat could maybe tell us, is there consecrated host left over? I was under the impression that that was not a thing.
Also,
Well,
the
I don't
go ahead.
know how they thought they got it, but I mean, I would feel like they would say that
That's
they
just
broke in and
crazy.
stole it, or I don't know how that. I say I that just makes it all the more ridiculous because the most people, this is all a political stunt, and so it's a political stunt on his side too. It's all symbolic, and
Right.
it's all just to make them stop doing what they're doing unless they're going to let everybody do it. It's a slippery slope, when you start letting one religion into your politics. I mean, and you let them into your state house and you do a prayer to their God every day or every time you meet, it just, we're a diverse religious nation, despite what people like to believe. And maybe we are a majority, some sort of sect of Christianity that believes in Christ, but I feel personally that 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 doesn't matter. Like it just needs the separation of church and state. I don't care what they do. I don't care what they pray. If they want to have a little prayer meeting outside the Capitol, the ones that believe, before they go in and have their, House of Representative meetings and stuff, go ahead. But once you're inside that building and you're inside that room, you are working for the entire state of Kansas, which means me, the person that doesn't believe in this, and the people at the Satanic Grotto that don't believe in this. You're supposed to be working for all of us. And you can't possibly be working for all of us when you're actively making lawsuits and making claims and lying and making threats of arrest because we want to exercise our right to freedom of speech and freedom to protest and um Yeah, like
Freedom
it's
of
just
assembly and a religion and expression.
Well,
yeah.
yeah, freedom
I
for a
mean,
30-minute ceremony that doesn't hurt anyone,
I'm
right?
not
And
trying to shut down Christianity or Catholics or whatever they want to do. My mom is a Christian. I have, a video about that, like my history of religion. But I'm not saying they can't do what they want to do where they want to do it. I'm just saying stop doing it at the House and at Congress and inaugurations. Like, just stop. Like, just no religion in it. Just no religion in the government. No policies based on your religion. No prayers. You know what I mean? That's all. I mean, and then yeah. So I'm not saying they have to stop being religious. Just
so
Stop.
that
keep
would
it
be
out of the government.
different than freedom of religion. That would be freedom from religion,
Yeah.
right?
Well,
You'd have to constitutionally remove God from everything
yeah.
in the
That would
founding documents because then it would no to in order for it there to be no religion.
well, I mean, I mean, for me, that's a long rant about the founding documents. I could care less. We could burn them all. I think we should burn them all and start over. But um I mean, it's like it was so like I'm one of those people that believe they're like living documents that can evolve over time and they're not just something that was set in stone because and I feel like I'm not going to say I don't think like I know, but I feel like because I can't go back in time. I feel like the founding fathers would come back into this day and age and be like, no, like what? We actually set provisions and stuff to make you be able to make changes and add things and stuff. So no, this is supposed to be updated with the times. Why do you still have gun laws based on muskets? You know what I mean? Like I think they would like
Make a lot more changes and a lot
want
more
it to be
adaptations.
updated
Yeah.
for the current time and what we're dealing with now. So the fact that it says this or it says that, like that needs to evolve, but we don't want it to evolve to where like there's certain parts of it that are very important to this country and what it was founded on, and freedom of speech and freedom to protest are huge. Like that's
Yeah,
what the whole and freedom from religion. That's the whole fucking point. Like that really got us going. They like to talk about the Tea Party when they threw tea over. What were they doing? They broke onto a ship and they threw tea over and they destroyed someone's property to protest, you know?
So
And
that yeah, well, I see. I absolutely see where you're coming from on a lot of that stuff there, and there are many people who believe that. When I say many people, there are people that believe that I know that believe that the founding documents should be completely redone or not or abrogated completely. I want to answer something that you asked just a minute ago, Erica, because I know that I know the answer, so I'm going to give you an answer real quick. When it comes to the consecrated host, up until 1962, the priest always placed the wafer on the tongue whenever someone
mhm.
took the Eucharist, but
Oh,
now
yeah.
they give it to you in your hand. So
Right,
when
I know that. I
yeah,
mean,
so
you know,
that's typically how it's stolen or how it's taken.
so
And
you think people are you know how many people you would have to send into a church to just go up and get communion and then not put it in their mouth and
aren't
walk
there
away and
rules about
save
who
it?
can
Like,
take communion at a church too?
yeah,
well, okay, so the rule is if you're not Catholic, you don't believe in transubstantiation, so you
Yeah,
shouldn't be partaking in communion because they specifically believe that is the body of Christ, that is the blood of
but
Christ.
they don't check
But
you beforehand.
no, they don't know. If you're sitting in the audience and you're Jewish, I mean, they might know if you go up and you don't do it right because you have to put your left hand over your right and then you grab with your right and
I
there's
feel
you
like the Satanic Grotto people
right? I mean, you
are
do
gonna know.
this
I mean, I'm not
before
saying
you
they did it. I know they didn't do it for a fact.
right.
It's just, but I'm
I
just
mean,
saying,
that would
like,
be really difficult unless you literally are breaking into the sacristy of a church after
they have
hours,
totally
or
been accused of
you're
doing it.
involved enough in the church to be a Eucharistic minister where you're giving out the consecrated host and then you're stealing bunches of it at the end of mass when you go back into the sacristy. I don't know. I just
but
think
he's
it's
selling
really
it.
They never
unlikely that
really
they
have
stole it.
I haven't read anything where they expand on how they thought they got them.
Yeah, I
They
can't
read
even imagine.
it. They think they stole them because they read something on Reddit from some user that had 666 in their name that says, "We got it. We got a hold of the body of Christ," or whatever it is, and that was their evidence going into court that they stole it, and then you know
What I
Basically, in a
might
sense,
the
of
church
what
was like, "No, we just bought it," and I.
what bothers me And, like, I'll say this as a Christian, right? What bothers me is that the Christian people are more afraid of that 30-minute ceremony taking place
Hmm.
than knowing enough about their own convictions and their own faith to very easily discuss it, talk about it, talk about why they might not agree with it, but not to just react by shutting it down. That just makes more people want to know why you're shutting it down. I feel
That
like
just
it's just
makes people like
ridiculous.
me be on shows like you that are all across the country. You know what I mean? Like that's all it did.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I believe in freedom of speech and freedom of where I always try to fall on this is if you allow Christian prayers, Jewish prayers, if you allow Islamic prayers, if you allow Islamic services or expressions of their faith, or any type of other faith at the public courthouse, you can't deny somebody else because at that point you are showing, favoritism. I understand that the separation of church and state was never enshrined in the Constitution. I mean, individually, each state is like you just mentioned. We're supposed to have the 50 presidents. Each state is supposed to be in charge of their own constitution, their own laws, etc. That's why they have their own constitutions. And if a specific state wanted to set up a state religion, they could do so. The federal constitution or the constitution, the federal constitution was created so that the national government could not set it up. But I agree with you to a point that there's a lot of things about the Constitution that we didn't sign on to today in our lives. We're considered the United States, and because of the constitutions and because of the laws that have created, we're forced and bound by laws that our ancestors have signed up for. So it seems like you are very passionate about the separation of church and state. Period. So if you believe that if they that there should be a separation of church and state, then there shouldn't be a satanic black mass or a creche or anything like that at the state office. Period. Would you advocate for that as well? So you're saying all of it or none of it? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, yeah, all of it or none of it. Like, yeah, yeah, we totally wouldn't be wasting our time doing this. They have better things to do. They do food drives and help charities and all sorts of good works that they do. They got a lot better things to do than this mass, but this is the best way that they can obviously get attention to their cause. And you know what I mean?
Yeah, well,
They've
hold on a
got
second.
it.
Well, they're Satanists. They're not doing food drives. They're out doing like ritualistic sacrifices and stuff like that. We
No,
have read the books.
they're they don't even believe Satan's a person like this group anyway. Like
Yeah.
it's all symbolic. But on the First Amendment thing, like I just googled it because I'm certainly you probably sound a little more like educated on the Constitution in depth. But like there's something about the establishment clause
Yeah.
that they should make no laws respecting an establishment of a religion.
Right.
So which which they're trying to.
Yeah. Yeah. And that was initially written
We're
so
a
that
Christian
the
nation. We're a
yeah
Christian
that
nation.
and that was initially written so that the federal government wouldn't do that, but it was because of the 14th Amendment and the incorporation doctrine that then applied that to all of the states, which is where most of this problem has happened. Do me a favor, give me give everybody your socials if you want people to follow you or on TikTok or Substack
Yeah.
if you're willing to do that. Give everybody your socials where they can find you and your information.
So the TikTok is my name is Kansas Helen. The user's still Helen is funny. It won't let me update it, but I'm sure I'll put some comedy on there at some point. And then the Substack it's Kansas Helen is how you can find me. Or Helen is funny if you do want to go. Like I got some videos on YouTube. They're not like the newest, but I'm funny if you really want a good laugh. And I
So
don't actually do jokes about politics or any of this shit because it takes me a long time to work on a joke that's good enough to put it on a set. And then by the time I put it on a set, it's all everyone's already
It
seen
already
it.
happened,
yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Right.
it's too late. So
So
it's all
you're
just
like
fun.
actively out there on the circuit doing comedy shows and things like
No,
that?
not anymore. I mean, I am. I mean, I don't know when I get to stop. I mean, I'm going to get back into doing comedy. I've been doing it for 9 years. I haven't like COVID really, and I really haven't gotten back up to the momentum I built, and life just kept changing. But I'm still a comedian. I could get up on stage right now and do 30 minutes. I'm not, you know what I mean?
Oh.
Um, yeah. So I don't. I'm moving, and I'm going to be in Topeka. I'm actually moving to Topeka, so I'm going to go yell at. I'm going to go stalk the halls of the Capitol and yell at everyone I feel like yelling at. And then, but I'll be closer to Kansas City. And so I'm hoping to try to get back into the comedy stuff. For me, I love performing. I love the audience. So far, I haven't liked 90% of the comedians, and so like just dealing with them. But that was really part of the problem too. But I do
Gotcha.
plan to get back into comedy.
Well, that's awesome. Well, I tell you what, I really appreciate you coming on the show and giving us a heads up about this. I'm going to be following you on Substack to kind of get all the information about this as
Yes, and
well.
I'll be going live on my TikTok if you want to follow it.
All
Okay.
right.
I'm gonna go live as much for the whole thing, and hopefully I don't get arrested. I'm not like officially pressed, but I'm making some sort of thing for me, and then my boyfriend's going as kind of like security, and then my daughter's going to help like take pictures and stuff. So I'm gonna make us lanyards that kind of say, hey, we're with the press, or we're trying, we're independent journalists. So hopefully, like, maybe I won't get arrested. But I mean, if they tell me not to go in if they go into the Capitol, I'm gonna go to the Capitol. But it's not going to be violent. It's not going to be, he said earlier, it's not going to be January 6th. They're a non-violent people. I mean, they're not going to like push their way in and force their way in, but they're going to do what they can to get in peacefully
Good
and
deal.
see what.
Well, hey, I hate to do it. We're up against the hard break here, but thank you so much for coming on the show with us. Kansas Helen at substack.substack.com. And we may have her on the show again to find out more about this information. Keep it locked in right here on The Breakdown, everybody. When we get back, we will be doing Bad Theology. All right. That was the bottom of the hour break there. Thank you so much, Helen. I really appreciate you coming on. And
Awesome, Helen. Yeah, I'm gonna follow you on TikTok in case I need to post any updates for you.
Yeah, no, it's, I don't know. I've never been to anything like this, and I've certainly never been there in a journalistic fashion. So it's going to be wild.
Yep.
They'll certainly be careful. Okay. We'll have to have you back on after this happens.
Yeah.
Keep me posted and then we'll have you back on. Okay.
Great. Thank you so much.
Hey, thank you. Have a great one.
Bye, Helen.
Bye.
Okay. I will be right back. Erica, entertain the masses, Erica.
No. I don't know why he leaves me to entertain. I'm not good at entertaining. All right, you guys. I shouldn't say anything out loud because that was pretty crazy, right? Is everyone with me? Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. Do y'all see on my face when I have to hold my tongue during these interviews? Someone tell me, are you seeing it? Because it's kind of difficult for me at times. Yeah. Mm. That's why I was liking the no video for this broadcast because no, I didn't have to worry about what my face was saying because it's all over my face. What are we doing? What are we doing?
Did I miss music?
No, I haven't heard any music yet. I'm just saying that interview was a test in me controlling my face.
That was we'll talk about that a little bit when we get back here. Welcome back to the Breakdown, folks. Thanks so much for staying with us. We greatly appreciate that. And I saw there's comments popping up here. A lot of folks expressing agreement, some folks expressing disagreement with what Helen said there. And you're allowed to disagree if you do not like what she had to say there. My thing is not necessarily because I see where she's coming from, and there's some folks that I would love to have on the show. Mark Kreslins is the guy that comes to mind, who says that the Constitution should be scrapped. Just scrap it and start over. There have been so many things that have happened and changes that have been created that have contributed to the Leviathan that we have now, and the amount of problems that exist cannot be done unless you just start over. Just wipe it out and start over again. So I'm sympathetic to that. Very sympathetic.
Well, okay, so it actually says in the Constitution that there may, and I'm not quoting it because I'm not going to do that. There may come a time at which your responsibility will be to burn it all to the ground and start over, right? I mean, it's written in there. So I don't agree with her saying Well, that's outdated. We shouldn't have the Second Amendment written on muskets. The Second Amendment is the Second Amendment. It's not based on muskets. It's based on my right to defend myself with actually anything I want, and they chose to protect my ability to own a to arm myself with a weapon that fires a bullet. Uh, period. Right?
Yeah,
You can rewrite that any way you want, but the one that she finds most important, the First Amendment and her right to protest, is damn sure protected by that second one. So without it, you're not gonna have that first one, and that's obvious given the fact that we can be manipulated by media when we're not under duress. They can say whatever they want, they could do whatever they want, and you're not being forced to listen to it. But start over? Yes, that is provided for us in the Constitution. But we
absolutely.
are a Christian nation. The Constitution is founded on principles that are righteous under a God. Under at least you can't do it without that. It doesn't make sense. You better rewrite it because it's null and void if you're not going there.
And most of it is based on presuppositionalism, and presuppositionalism meaning that there you have to presuppose the existence of God so that you can say these laws are based on that, right?
Well, and also she said that what were they doing during the American Revolution? They they broke onto a boat and threw the tea. Okay, but that's not why people came here. People came here because of the Church of England. And then they revolted because of taxation without representation. They didn't come here because they wanted representation in government. They came here because they wanted the right to practice religion in the way that they saw fit. They did not want to be controlled by the Church of England. They revolted because of taxation without representation. They were fine over here practicing what they were practicing until they started having money taken away from them, then they revolted. So there's some crossover there
Yeah,
that you have to account for because the American Revolution didn't happen just because we were having our money stolen. I mean, the people came here and started living on this continent to get away from religious oppression.
right. Yeah, there's all kinds of things that are. Is this going to work for me? There are all kinds of things that go on there. It is a nuanced conversation for sure, and definitely is a conversation that needs to be had. Um, that there's a lot of things in that discussion that are necessary and important. If we are a Christian nation, does that mean that as a Christian nation, we do not allow any celebration of any other religions whatsoever? Because if you base that on, like most people do, the Old Testament and the Bible itself, then we should be destroying and breaking down altars and idols and icons of other religions. We shouldn't be allowing it. If you look at the way that God told them to treat certain countries, when you look at what they did to the land of Canaan, because of the iniquity and the sin that existed back then. Does that mean that we have carte blanche to do that now? Does it mean that we can go into a Buddhist temple or an Imam temple, or a Muslim temple, and desecrate that or destroy it in some way? It is a slippery slope because you think, hey, we're a Christian nation, and Christian nation means we're nice to people, but we're not going to allow people to do certain practices. Well, how do you
Is that what
enforce?
that
How do
means?
you stop it?
I don't see, okay, so well,
Like what do you mean?
I'm not sure that you can just define it one way, but is that what that means? I'm a Christian. I think it's a Christian. I live in a Christian nation, but that does mean that should allow other people to practice what they find spiritually nurturing to them as long as it's not hurting anyone. It's sort of the same as your right to whatever you're doing stops when it infringes on my right to do what I'm doing.
Yeah, but the what I'm looking at here, the question that I'm asking is, if we look at the example that is set forth by the Old Testament, where we were told by God to destroy the high places. They were being told to destroy the land of Canaan because of the iniquitous actions that they were taking there. They were being told to destroy all of the icons, etc. They So if we operate under that, then there is no room for allowing other religions to exist. There is no such thing as freedom of religion. That whole idea of freedom of speech, freedom of religion, the right to assemble, all those things, those are based on Masonic principles, because the majority of the founding fathers were not Christian, they were deist, and they were also Masons. And this
Right.
was a Masonic experiment that they were causing. When people try to anachronistically apply freedom of speech, freedom of religion, freedom of association, the Fourth Amendment rights of freedom of privacy, and the Second Amendment rights, they try to put that into Scripture and use the Scripture to prove those points. But those are not there. Those are not in the Bible. There are times in
No.
the Bible where Joseph was running the land of Egypt, and what did he do? He took everybody's possessions to give them food, and made the Pharaoh the most prominent and powerful person because he owned the land and all the cattle and everything that they had, and they had to get their food that way. So that is, people look back and be like, well, that's capitalism. Well, then you look at the New Testament where Christians sold everything they had and took care of everybody. That's what people would call communism. And it's like, but you're trying to apply modern day principles to the
Wait,
scriptures.
hold on. Okay, right. You're right. I'm Communism is not someone choosing to sell everything they have and help others. Communism is the government forcing you to sell everything you have to help others,
No,
quote, unquote,
yeah,
right?
absolutely, absolutely.
Like, there are people who can choose just to be charitable in that way. Like, I don't need my possessions. Here's what I'm gonna do with my paycheck. You can still do that. The difference is being forced to do it, right? I think it's how do you have a constitution that okay, if you're going to completely take the Christian aspect out of the constitution for of a nation. Okay, let's just not say this nation, whatever. Where where is the love? Like where how are you going to how do you then I don't even know how to say this. How do you adjudicate? How do you live? What are the rules? How do you have rules without morality
Well,
and ethics?
yeah, and so to go back to your previous question, I wasn't saying that communism is in the Bible.
Oh,
I'm
no,
just
that was me. I
people
was
use
just
okay.
saying, okay, wait, we can't there is a difference. So for those people that call that communism, they're idiots. Sorry, just
Yeah,
saying.
so there is definitely a difference in what we were being told was what is communism and what people are expressing as communism. Absolutely. But I was not trying in any way to say that. Now I am also see if that'll work here. I'm doing a bunch of stuff in the background. Hopefully it's going to work for us. But I I agree with that statement that you made there, but again, that falls back to presuppositions. How do we know that the laws that we are making, how do we know that the things that we are saying are just in the way that we represent? How do we know? How can we say that those are necessarily Christian or not Christian? How do we say that those are based on laws of good or laws or good laws or bad laws or what's right or wrong? If there is not a something to compare that to, where do we get our idea of right and wrong? And that's where presuppositionalism comes in, where we have to assume that God does exist, or we have to assume a deity exists or something exists that gives us a plumb line of that. Does that make sense?
Let's it does, but that's because I believe in God.
Right.
So let's say you have somebody who does not, right? Do they still have a sense of right and wrong? Do they think murder is wrong? And then my question would be, if so, why? Where do you get that from? Why do you think it's wrong? Because I know why I think it's wrong,
Yeah. Yeah.
but why do they think it's wrong? Are we even operating on the same parameter?
Yeah, and that really is the question, and that's what it comes down to. Are we operating on the same parameters? Are we operating with the same understanding, or are we just simply trying to apply um an overarching understanding of what we say is right rather than what is actually right? Does that make sense?
Well, yeah, say an actual, right? I mean, it's really hard for I mean, it's is it I don't know how you even discuss it without the 10 commandments coming up because there's no way for me to say, "Do you think it's wrong to kill someone? Do you think it's wrong to lie? Do you think it's wrong to cheat? Do you think it's wrong to steal? Do you think it's wrong to take" you know, in your heart to have thoughts of malice and how do you if you're like, "Yeah, I think that's wrong." Well, okay, then we can all join together and come up with a document that sort of governs the nation, right?
Yeah.
But if you're like, "No, I don't have a problem with murder. I don't think it's wrong to lie. I think it's fine. You know, who cares?" Those are just basics, right? Or do I think those are just basics because I grew up thinking that's what's right and this is what's wrong? Why is it wrong to lie? Maybe I should just start lying.
Yeah. I mean
That'd be
that is what it comes down to. Like what are those laws based on? Now,
right.
what Christians will do is they will use that as a gotcha. Well, you can't have those laws unless you have a lawgiver. You can't say that something is right unless you have something, or say that something is wrong unless you have something comparatively that is right. And Christians will corner that market on morality and what is right and what is wrong, and they use that as a way to prove that God exists, or to say that they can speak to what is right or wrong because God does exist.
Okay, but that's the
Which
same thing I was telling her, right? Like, how does that's the same thing I was saying to her. Like, how does any how does you've got to be able to justify your platform, right? Like instead of the Christians reacting to that by saying you can't do that because you're a Satanist and we don't agree with what you believe in, why aren't they out there defending what the Christians believe in as a way of showing why they don't think that is something that should take place? You shouldn't be fighting to oppress, you should be fighting for the righteous thought. Like if you're not smart enough to show why your idea is better, then that's on you, and you should go educate yourself and learn how to say what you feel is right and be able to affect people in that manner. Learn how to talk. It's ridiculous for you to just oppress up what other people want to do because you don't think it's right. Well, then you better learn how to fight for what you think is right.
yeah.
You can't just expect other people to be shut down. It just doesn't work that way.
Now you're
And
talking about, go ahead.
that's the same thing I'm saying here, right? Like, instead of Christians backing into a corner and cornering that market of saying, well, you can't have this without that, how about you just be able to fight for what you believe
Yeah.
instead of saying, you can't do it this way because you don't have this and you don't have that? How about just standing up for what you actually believe and knowing because it's all there?
And not only standing up for what you believe, but standing up for what others believe and having the respect for other people by saying, I recognize my rights and I recognize your rights as well.
Right.
Because that there is you can't have it both ways. You
If
can't
you
you can't.
think if you know that what you believe is right, you should not be afraid of another group challenging what you think and believe. You should welcome it and you should be prepared for it because anytime you can prove that group or that thought or that person or that ideology wrong is a notch on your in your corner.
Yep. I agree. And with that, let's do this. Come on into Dark.
You're teaching some bad theology. Your bad theology's annoying.
You can see the video, right? Let's see if we can do both of this. I wonder if more people hearing that.
You're teaching some bad theology. Your bad theology's annoying me. Oh, you're teaching some bad theology. Repentance is the only cure that you need.
All right, there we go. We're doing bad theology. We're gonna point this down. Now, Eric, I covered this last week on the show,
Okay.
but I wanted to get your take on what I'm about to cover
Uh-oh.
because, oh man, I just want, okay. All right, Barker, get control of yourself here. I'm going to be watching your face this entire time, Erica.
Great.
Here you go.
In a nutshell, in general, I don't want to see women in the public sphere. You mean they shouldn't hold political office? Correct. You mean you don't want to see them podcasting? Correct. Well, but what about in the marketplace? With 9 to 5, careers? No, not that either. Like, I don't want to see women holding positions in the public square. I don't. In a nutshell, in general.
So, Erica, Joel Webbin does not want to see you doing this show with me. He does not.
I mean, I'm okay with, I'm actually God, I can't believe I'm gonna say this out loud. I'm so sorry to everyone in the audience right now. I'm actually okay with not having women in political office. Um, it and I could go into why, but I'm
Please
actually
go right
okay with
ahead.
that.
Go right ahead.
Um,
I don't care if you talk about it. It's your opinion. I want to hear it.
I
Like Joe
I
Levin.
it part of being female comes with some innate qualities that aren't conducive to that type of leadership.
Okay.
Okay. Um, beyond that, he's an idiot. Like, how am I supposed to support myself? So you're saying that a woman who is not married to a man, or like in my situation, how do you support yourself?
He answers
You're not allowed to live?
he answers some of that here, and in this next clip, there's more. There's more. Here's this, which is yet another great one. Here we go.
Reason why I have grown to despise democracy is because it's not we the people. It's we the some people. And who are those people? Non-elected officials.
Yep.
Like what democracy, what it gives, lends its strength to, is instead of having elected officials that have power, is a raw universal, because that's what we have, is a universal democracy. Everyone is allowed to vote.
Right.
Everyone. And just for the record, yeah, I think the 19th Amendment should be repealed. I think that because, well, first and foremost, because I'm a Christian, and that is the Christian position. Oh my
Right.
gosh, that you're saying that? Yes, that is the Christian position, is that households should not be divided against one another. So it's not just elevating a male vote, but it's elevating the household vote. We're saying that that society, if you break it down to the basic building block, is not atomistic as individuals, but molecular, being households. That the way that God sees humanity is He breaks them down to families, and so that it's not just random individual atoms all bouncing around together, and 350 million atoms bouncing together in one nation on one piece of land, but it's families. And so by repealing the 19th Amendment, just for the record, it's not just trying to take away a female vote, but it's trying to say, no, there's a family vote.
Right.
There's a household. And it's like, well, where do women get their voice? Well, where women get their voice is from their father, from their husband. If they're not married, it's from their father. If they're not married and their father is dead, it's from their brother, it's from their uncle, it's the men in their lives that love them.
So,
Again, I am going to have a very unpopular opinion.
oh,
I
please.
mean, you know how I feel about this. I have long thought that women were much more effective when they had a position in the household where they stayed at home. They were more influential with their husbands. They were more respected. They were better mothers. The kids turned out better. We have a place, and that's not to put anyone down, but you were made with a purpose that I think some women don't fulfill because they're too busy worrying on how to be the protector, or how to have to be in charge when that isn't. And don't take this wrong. I am not saying obviously I have to do it myself, right?
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
it isn't how it's meant to be. And I do think that you should repeal the 19th Amendment, not because women shouldn't be able to vote, but because no one should be able to vote if you don't have a stake in the game. If you don't own property, if you do not have if the vote that you're making does not affect you, then you should not. I do. And that just doesn't apply to women, it applies to everybody. Men, women, couples, whatever. I don't care who you are. If you don't have a stake in the game, your opinion does not matter.
Interesting. Interesting. That is, I am. Where do you get your idea that that this is the way it should be? Like that women should be at home and that they shouldn't be in the workforce, et cetera. Where does that come from?
I just history, my like reading, looking at what women are today versus what they were back in the day. I mean, go back to just y- you have women that will, first of all, protect the husbands, they to no end, right? But we're capable of leading the country. You didn't even know. They influenced all the decisions, both politically, in the family, when it came to there's a different how do I say this? You cannot separate women from their nurturing their like, are some women less nurturers than other women? Are some women less women than other sure, we all have different levels of everything, right? But when you are the nurturer, whether you have a child or not, it doesn't even matter, but I'm gonna use a child as an example, right?
Yeah.
You're walking down the street and the child doesn't wanna walk. The child is upset. The mother picks up the child innately. And that's what you're supposed to do. But the father is the one who looks at the mother and says, put that child down. Put that child down. You know why? Because mom isn't capable of making that decision. And she's not supposed to be capable of it. That's why there's a father. I know
Interesting.
a lot of
Interesting.
people are not going to agree with me,
Oh,
but
no, we just had somebody on the show that nobody in the chat room over on the Crusader Stadium agreed with. I'm pretty sure. So,
yeah, I mean, it sounds archaic, and I realize I'm sounding like I'm saying that women don't have the right to be everything that men can be, and you do, but I just think that we were better off when we did it from behind.
So now I will do this also before we leave. I'm just I forgot that we had to cover this story as well because it is the title of the show. There is Trump derangement syndrome. U.S. lawmakers are pushing to classify criticism of Donald Trump. I'm sorry, to push to classify Trump criticism as a mental illness. It says here that 5 Republican Minnesota state senators plan to introduce a controversial legislation that would classify criticism of the U.S. President Donald Trump as a diagnosable condition called Trump derangement syndrome. After President Trump took office in January 25, he faced significant opposition and criticism expressed through nationwide protests, such as the 5501, 50 protests, 50 states, one day, or Not My President's Day. Trump implemented several controversial policies and actions, including dismantling of diversity, equity, inclusion, et cetera, blah, blah, blah. The bill, scheduled for introduction to the Minnesota State Health and Human Services Committee on 17 March, would incorporate the term into state statutes related to mental health, according to Newsweek. According to state documents, the bill's co-sponsors, Senator Glenn Gruenhagen, Justin Eichhorn, Nathan Westenberg, Steve Drazkowski, and Eric Lucero, define the condition as an acute onset of paranoia regarding Donald Trump's presidencies. The proposed legislation suggests symptoms include Trump-induced general hysteria that prevents distinguishing between legitimate policy differences and signs of psychic pathology in President Donald J. Trump's behavior. This is absolutely asinine.
It is. It's
I mean,
insane, right?
this is like a troll joke because there's no way that they think that a policy like this is remotely legal or remotely ethical. I don't understand these people in the decision.
Well, it's Minnesota. I mean, it's not like it's really Minnesota anymore. So if they can if they can make it a mental disorder to talk about their political opponent or support their political or whatever. Either way, I mean, what are we talking about? This is
Uh,
crazy.
it is absolute insanity that I see here on their part. When I say insanity, I'm talking about the insanity on the lawmakers' part. This is
Yes.
freedom of speech disorder. This is, there is freedom of speech derangement syndrome. This is what and I know that there's a lot of throwbacks, but this is what a lot of countries with totalitarian or fascist governments do. They make criticism of their appointed messiah completely illegal. They start throwing you in jail. They start labeling you as crazy, and then eventually that becomes the moniker that's attached to you. I mean,
Yeah.
if a person wants to scream and cry about Donald Trump being president, let him scream and cry. But do you know
Right.
that I remember when Obama was elected, all we heard about was the fact that he was the Antichrist, that Jesus is coming back, that he's going to destroy America, he is going to implement martial law, our Constitution is going to be shredded, and all of those things. The Constitution, by the way, was shredded with the Patriot Act in 2001 after in September. November of 2001, right after the September 11th attacks. That was shredded back then. The mouthpieces of the conservative right-wing movement, people like Sean Hannity and Dan Bongino and other right-wing turds like that, are pushing this narrative, right, that we need security rather than rights, and this stuff here falls into line with that completely. I see you could have called it Obama derangement syndrome. You could have called it Hillary derangement syndrome, because
I
you could
just
have
don't
called
understand
it
why
derangement syndrome.
and why does shutting it down make sense? Don't they see how much it benefits them to allow these people to just let the cray cray out? Like, why are you stopping them? It makes them look insane. Let them go. They're not going to gain it more, but as more insane people, and then we're going to be able to know where they all are.
You know what it adds on to the crimes committed by people. It's like my dad said this years ago, and I was like, hey, that's pretty legit. We were talking about laws. They were passing laws where it's illegal to text and drive, and my dad's like, why do they need another law on the books? They've already got one for that. It's called reckless driving, right? So
Right.
people that are texting and driving, they should be given a citation for that. People who allow their dogs to sit on their lap while they're driving, oh my gosh, that is
Hey,
reckless
listen,
driving
okay,
as well.
get this. I was just thinking about this the other day. It's so random. We have 1 minute left, right?
Yeah.
I have long been looking for a way to communicate with other drivers while I'm on the road because I feel like it might calm me down instead of just yelling, like actually communicate with them besides having my phone number on the side of my car and telling them to call me.
Yeah.
Um, so I was looking at one of those roll bars that you can put in the back window. It's like a rolling stream
Oh
and you
yeah,
can
yeah.
right. Do you know that that the main advertisement for it is it comes with an app that you can put on your phone so you can change what it says while you're driving?
No, oh my gosh.
That's one of the major marketing is you can easily update while driving because it comes with an app that's right on your phone.
Oh my
So
gosh.
you can just, what am I now I'm texting all my messages.
Yeah, now that's what people are going to put on the back of their car. Don't text and drive. All right, folks, this has been The Breakdown. Go to aaronbarker.substack.com. Subscribe there for the other shows. And until next time, make Christ supremely valuable. No, don't do it. Don't do it. There we go. I stopped it. All right, well, there we go. I mean,
I really love J-Bay's final comment.
and we come full circle to why Erica wants a tank. I used to think maybe there should be a way for you to dial their license plate number and it
Yes.
ring through to them and you could just give them a piece of your mind. But do you know how, what about that incident down in Florida? I think it was in Florida where these people were arguing and this truck pulled up next to this car and fired 11 shots and killed a person. And
Yeah.
they weren't even involved in the altercation of what was going on. They were just mad that the person was stopped at a green light.
Yeah. That they were stopping traffic.
Yeah, that is insane. All right, folks. Well, hey, as we mentioned, the show dropping on Wednesday. If you're not a subscriber at aaronbarker.substack.com, please do so.
Do it.
We support all of we appreciate all of the support that everybody is giving us over there. You don't want to miss this great content there as well. And you get 5 free subscriptions that you can pass out to people that you like or that you don't like. If you want to punish somebody, you give it to them. Or if you really like them, you can give it to them. And as Eric is saying, we're going to work on something where we can give away some subscriptions for people as well. So remember to do that. And well, Erica, I'll see you Wednesday night.
Yep. Okay. Already. Do you want? I mean, let me just know if we need to touch base beforehand so you can make sure I don't do anything wrong.
Oh no, I at this point, there's nothing you can do wrong. I am totally fine with whatever happens.
Oh my god. Okay.
All right, everybody, have a great one. Thanks for everything. Let me end the stream.